All right, let's talk about one of the biggest fumbles in sports marketing history. Seriously, we're going to unpack a $10 billion mistake that all started with a simple request for a few tracksuits and ended with a legend completely changing the game.
It sounds insane, doesn't it? How on earth does a behemoth like Nike let a guy who would become the face of soccer for an entire generation just slip through their fingers? Well, the answer is almost laughably simple, and that's what makes this story so wild.
Okay, so let's start at the beginning. We're going back to when a young phenom from Argentina was just starting to make waves. Nobody knew it at the time, but the stakes were just astronomically high.
So picture this. From the time he was just 14 years old, tearing it up in Barcelona's famous youth academy La Masia, Lionel Messi was a Nike guy. When he finally made his first team debut, you saw him in those classic Nike boots, the T90s, the Mercurials. You know, for all intents and purposes, he was on the path to being a Nike lifer.
But, and this is the absolute key to this whole story, Nike's deal with him was pretty informal. They just saw him as one of many promising kids they had on their books. They totally missed the fact that they were looking at a once-in-a-generation talent. They never locked him down in a big, long-term contract. And that was a massive oversight.
And this is where it all goes wrong for Nike. In 2005, Messi's father Jorge makes a really simple request. He asks for a bit more gear for the family. We're literally talking about a few $100 worth of tracksuits. And the story goes that Nike just ignored him. That tiny little snub, that moment of carelessness, completely soured the relationship and cracked the door open for their biggest rival.
And you better believe that when Adidas saw that door was open, they didn't just knock, they kicked it clean off its hinges. This was the moment that sparked a huge legal fight and completely shifted the power dynamic in the soccer world.
And what's crazy is just how fast this all went down. So the snub happens in late 2005. By February of 2006, just a few months before a World Cup, mind you, Adidas swoops in and signs him to a 5-year deal for about $1 million a year. Nike, finally realizing what a colossal mistake they'd made, actually sued to get him back, but it was too late. The court sided with Adidas and the switch was officially done.
And I want to be clear, this is not an exaggeration. People who study this stuff consistently point to this moment as one of the most short-sighted, costly mistakes any major sports brand has ever made. Period.
$10 billion. Just let that sink in. That's what some analysts estimate Nike lost in potential revenue over the years by not having Messi as their guy. An absolutely mind-blowing number that all started because of a few tracksuits.
But you see, Adidas didn't just sign him and call it a day. No. They immediately started building an entire empire around him. This wasn't just another endorsement deal. For them, it was the ultimate strategic power play. Right out of the gate, they put him in their top-tier F50 boot for the 2006 World Cup. And as Messi's star just exploded, the boot technology evolved right along with him. They kept making the boots lighter, faster, perfect for his style. By 2010, he's in the Adizero F50, which was the lightest boot ever made at the time. And then, by 2013, he gets the ultimate prize, his very own signature line.
And this is where Adidas proved they got something that Nike completely missed. They didn't just pay him, they celebrated him. When Messi went on that insane run, winning 4 straight World Player of the Year awards, Adidas was right there with him. Every single time, they dropped these incredible, exclusive gold boots to celebrate his wins. They were literally weaving the 3 stripes into the fabric of his legacy.
This was a massive statement. Giving Messi his own signature collection with his own custom logo, that put him in super exclusive territory. The only other player to get that treatment was David Beckham. So yeah, this was way more than a boot deal. Adidas was building a dynasty.
But they weren't even done yet. After more than a decade of winning together, Adidas decided to make things permanent. They were going to make sure that Lionel Messi would be associated with their brand forever.
So in 2017, they handed him a lifetime contract. The reported value? A cool $1 billion. This deal put him in that legendary tier, right alongside Nike's own guys Michael Jordan and Cristiano Ronaldo. It was the ultimate statement of commitment.
And from there, the partnership just blew up beyond the field. It became all about lifestyle. With these super sought-after collaborations, you had the special sneakers when he went to Inter Miami, the Cloud White Sambas in 2024. He became the face of their huge global campaigns, like the You Got This push. He wasn't just a player for them anymore. He was a full-blown cultural icon.
So, after all that, after 2 decades, after all the contracts, and all the billions of dollars,
What's the final score in this epic battle between the two biggest brands in sports?
Well, the contrast really couldn't be clearer. Nike saw a good junior player and got tripped up by a tiny request. Adidas, on the other hand, saw generational talent. They invested big and early, and they built a billion-dollar empire on his back. It was the classic case of one company's massive oversight becoming another's opportunity of a lifetime.
And that's really the big takeaway here. In the constant never-ending war between Nike and Adidas for soccer supremacy, stealing Lionel Messi away was without a doubt the single biggest victory for Adidas in the modern era.
And it really makes you wonder, doesn't it? We can put a $10 billion price tag on this particular what-if. But what other tiny, seemingly insignificant decisions have ended up shaping our world in massive ways? If anything, this whole story is the ultimate proof that in business, just like in sports, the biggest wins and the most crushing defeats often come down to the smallest of details.